Well, it is time for speaker number one. We're about to bring on Sylvan Kills here. For those of you who didn't see his little bio on the website, Sylvan has been a professional digital marketing strategist for pretty much the past 20 years now. He has extensive knowledge of sales psychology, marketing strategy, and interestingly enough, his career began as a freelance copywriter in 2000. So it's neat to see how he's taken it as freelance all the way up to founder and expert. So without further ado, I would like to hand it off and present Sylvan Kills. He's here somewhere. I saw the name in there.
Can y'all hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. Sorry guys, I just had the worst technical difficulties ever. My video wouldn't come on and my audio wouldn't come on. I just had a mini panic attack. So good way to start the day. At least my adrenaline's flowing now, so I'll be able to be a little more entertaining. A little shaky, but so anyway, I just want to thank you guys for having me out. I work for FreeUp as a freelancer. I've been working for them for about 2 years, which is a sister company of HOTHCON. They've been amazing to work with. I've enjoyed every minute of it, and so let me just pull up a little thing here. I'm not going to put my slideshow quite yet. I'm going to give you all that in just a little bit, but I just wanted to start out telling you a little bit about myself. My name is Sylvan Kills. I'm a digital marketing strategist. Thank you again for having me here. There's a couple other really good presenters coming up after me. Amy Kochek, CEO of Kochek Creative, and Sean Murphy, both heavy hitters. They're going to be awesome. So make sure you stay tuned all day. It's going to be really cool. So basically, I chose this topic because it's something that's really special to me. I started as a freelance writer in my early 20s, late teens, when I was in college. And I did it to supplement my income in college. I worked as a chef previously. I've done a little bit of everything, honestly. And so I did freelance on the side to help supplement my income. And at the time when I was starting it, freelance wasn't as common as it is now. It was there was very minimal platforms. There weren't a lot of jobs. It wasn't really as accepted of a career path as it is now. But what I found is that beginning in that area, over time, I acquired more and more skills. I was able to expand my skill set into a lot of different areas of tech knowledge and SEO and social media marketing and all these things, and actually build a career around it. And that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about today, because a lot of times you'll see different coaches or people pushing that there's this secret to making a bunch of money, and it's really not a secret. It's just like everything else. It's hard work. It's continually learning, reading, and being really good to your clients. What you do as a freelancer, you are the brand. Your face, your voice, the way you present yourself, that's your branding. And so from the beginning, you start writing and you start interacting with clients, you're creating a brand around yourself. And as a freelancer, I'm able, and I don't say this in a bragging way, but I'm able to make like 6 figures a year just from the freelancing side of things, not to count the businesses I've started as well. And I don't say that to brag, but I say it because it's something all of you can do. There's no secret to it. It's not incredibly hard. It takes work, but it's really just knowledge of your clients, being able to listen, being able to ask the right questions, knowing how to present yourself to the clients, and being able to build solid relationships with them. You have to have confidence in your abilities, but don't overstate your abilities, and be able to convey your personality. That's the biggest thing. One of the biggest selling points I have is that I'm just myself. I'm a weird bald guy, and I just I embrace that. I present myself as who I am. I love to joke around with people, and it's a great field to be in with a ton of opportunities. And you're starting with the HOTH, which is an amazing company with a great reputation. If you work with FreeUp, it's another amazing platform. It's the best one out there. I know that for a fact because I've worked with a lot of them. It's just above and beyond. Their support team's amazing. They go out of the way to help you with everything. If you ever got questions, they can answer them. I ask them questions all the time. They never get mad at me and tell me to go away, which is fantastic. So yeah, that's basically what I was going to talk to you about today. I grew up in North Carolina, Greensboro, North Carolina area on a farm. So I didn't come from, a bunch of money. uh, I did go to college for English and business, which I still have a loan for. But it's this is not a career that you have to have $1 million to start a business. You don't have to have a doctorate to do this. you can learn all of this from experience in your free time. And one of the best ways to learn is, interacting with your clients, asking them, what do you need? What services do you not have available? What are the things you would like to see for your business? And when they tell you, learn how to do those things, even if you can't provide it for that client, you're going to be able to provide it for other clients down the line. And so you're continually building your skill set and, in essence, building your business. This is a wonderful industry to be in because you don't have the overhead. Your assets are your mind, they're your brain, they're your personality, your ability to listen, your ability to communicate with the clients, and that's the number one thing. And the past year since 2020, it's been terrible with COVID, but it's also been an opportunity because so many businesses now have shifted over to online like e-commerce, online services, and working remote, that it's just fully legitimate business, and most people are realizing, most businesses and corporations are realizing they can save a bunch of money by hiring remote service providers. And on the flip side of that, you can make a lot of money too. So, you get to work from home. You can sit and work in your underwear with a shirt on. I'm fully clothed, don't worry, but you could potentially work at home in your underwear if you wanted to. I don't know that I'd recommend it, but you have the option. So it's a lot of freedom there. But COVID's caused a boom in this industry like I've never seen before. And I've been doing this for 20 years, and it's not going to go away. Some people are going to go back to work, but a lot of people never are. I mean, it's so nice to be able to work from home, have a remote location, be able to work your own schedule a lot of times. You get to network with new people all the time. If you need to take a sick day, you just take a sick day. It's cool. So anyway, I just wanted to get started with that. Like I said, you came from kind of humble beginnings. I'm still, pretty humble. I live like a minimalist, but I make enough money that I'm comfortable, and it's something that all of you can do. It's just totally simple. There's no secret, is what I'm saying. But what I do want to present you with are some of the things that I've done that really helped me as a freelancer and help me interact with the clients. Because although there's no like secret, there are a few basic essential assets that you want to have as a freelancer that will allow you to present yourself as professionally as possible to your potential clients. It'll allow you to avoid potentially bad clients that can cause problems, and how to do that in a proper way, because you never want to upset anyone. But there are some things you just want to look out for and avoid. And there's assets you can create for yourself ahead of time to present to the clients that'll make you seem more professional and valuable, and to convey your confidence in your abilities as well. So let me see if I can share this real quick. Can y'all enable screen sharing for me? Okay. Well, while we're figuring that out, let me see. All right, there we go. Ta-da. Okay. Can y'all see that? Thumbs up? Any thumbs up? Yeah, I see thumbs up. Okay, awesome. Good. Okay. So again, Sylvan Kills is my name. It's my real name. It sounds like a fake name, but it's not. So this presentation I titled Evolving from Freelancer to Founder, because it basically follows the path of what I've done over the past 20 years, which, I started as a freelance writer. I'm doing what probably a lot of you guys did. I started out writing blog articles. I started learning about SEO, keyword research, how to implement those. I went to SEO conferences in Las Vegas to learn more about it, how to expand that into, boosting search engine rankings, how social media interacts with it. And over time, I just learned more and more about that business. Let's see if my little slideshow is going to work. Well, we'll do this. All right. So the things I wanted to discuss, which I've kind of covered this already, but kind of how I got started in freelancing, which again, I grew up on a farm. I actually had a pet pig named Einstein. So if you don't believe I grew up on a farm, like if you have a pet pig, you're probably on a farm. That's pretty legit farmer there. I want to talk about client relationships, because that is the number one top priority. A lot of the clients I get are from referrals from other clients. And that is the best way, since all of you guys work in marketing in one capacity or another, Direct referrals from other people, like in terms of clients you've had or friends referring you to somebody, that is the number one way to get new clients. That's the highest converting way. Um, People trust their friends. Like, if somebody recommends a restaurant to you, you're going to go to the restaurant most likely. Seeing an ad on TV, you're like, that's probably fake food. I don't know if it's good. But if somebody tells you about it, it's going to be good. So, like building those relationships not only benefits you with the existing client, but it expands outward from there and helps you create like a constantly growing client base. Um, talk about expanding your marketing toolkit, which is basically, it's kind of a cliche way to put it, but it's basically the skills you have to offer your clients. As you move along, technology changes all the time. You're going to be learning about it constantly. You're going to learn new platforms. And that's something you want to make sure you do. If you ever hear somebody mention something, when I'm in conversations with clients, I'll hear people mention platforms that I've never heard of before. I always take notes of it, and I go look it up afterwards. I'm like, well, I don't know that, but somebody needs it. I'm going to learn it. And that's a good way to just consistently do that. Let's see, how to build your brand as a freelancer, which is kind of the comprehensive idea of this. Are you a strategist or a specialist? Which is important to understand too, because those are both very important categories, but they're very different. And then we'll go like a quick summary of kind of what we talked about. So let's see here. All right. So building your brand as a freelancer, the journey from freelance writer to digital marketing strategist and business owner. And your path may look different. Was the path I took. I began as a freelance writer, and then over the years, I transitioned over to a digital marketing strategist once I learned all these different subsets of that career or that title. And then ultimately started working on opening businesses of my own, which some of you may choose to do, others may not. You may just decide you want to be a specialist. You may just want to be a copywriter or a writer itself. Being a writer is a fantastic career, and it's in super high demand. Content strategy is still one of the most valuable and the most in-demand things that I get from all of my clients. Everybody wants content strategy. They have a very hard time finding writers who write really well and that understand how that strategy and the content they're creating plays into the bigger picture of what the business is trying to do. So when you understand that and you have the ability to create that content, it's just an incredibly valuable asset for you, as a freelancer or as a business provider. Whoops, that's the wrong button. Let's try this again. All right, cool. So basically with freelancing, the wonderful thing, my favorite thing about freelancing is that you have the freedom to choose your own path. I'm not a huge fan of having a boss looking over my shoulder all the time and telling me what to do. I never have been. It's not for me. Some people like it. I'm not one of those people. I like to do what I want to do kind of in my own time, in my own way. And when you're a freelancer, that's what you get to do. You get to set your schedule. You get to set your rules. I mean, if you're working for people, obviously you have deadlines. Sometimes they have certain times you want to meet with them, but you get to decide if that works with you. And that's an amazing benefit that, you don't have in a lot of careers. The other freedom part that is so amazing is you can take that career as far as you want. You can be a blog writer. You can be a writer for your entire career, or you can say, I want to go into email marketing, be an email marketing specialist, or I want to do social media marketing, or I want to do web design. The thing about all of those things is they all require communication and writing skills. That's the most valuable skill that you have. When I was attending college at UNCG in North Carolina, I was in the business school, and one of the things that they were teaching us is that a lot of new, and this has been a long time ago, but it still remains a fact, that a lot of businesses were hiring English majors as opposed to business majors because they could teach the English majors the business side, but they couldn't teach the business side. I mean, I'm sorry, they could teach the business side to the English majors, but not vice versa. So basically, they couldn't teach the writing and communication skills to the business managers, but they could teach an English major how to run a business. And so the English and the ability to write is super valuable. The creative writing skills and the copywriting skills are super valuable for all those subsets. And so basically the way I got started in this field is that from the time I was a kid, I loved reading. As I said, I grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere. There wasn't a lot to do. You could play with animals, you could go fishing, or you could read. My parents weren't big on television. I got to watch like maybe 30 minutes or an hour a day, which I hated at the time, but I appreciated when I got older because I developed a love for reading. And I used to spend, 3 to 6 hours a day reading. And the best way to get better at writing is to read and write all the time. That's it. It's just like anything, you got to practice it. The more you read, you won't even know that you're training your brain to write what you are. At every minute you're reading, you're getting better and better and better at writing. Your grammar is going to get better. Your vocabulary is going to expand. The topics that you understand are going to expand. And all of those apply. As a writer, the more you know on literally every topic, the better you're going to be at your job. It's just a fact. The more you communicate with people, the more you read, all of those skills. And on the flip side of that, again, the more you talk with people, the better you're going to be at communicating. I was talking to my fiance before this, and I was like, I'm a little anxious. I don't know. She's like, you talk 6 or 8 hours a day. I've been listening to you for a year and a half, talking all day. She's like, don't tell me you can't talk for an hour. And I was like, okay, that's a good point. Yeah, I probably can. So gave me a little confidence there. But yeah, so read all the time, as much as you possibly can. Formal education, I did go to school for business and English. In reality, it wasn't necessary for what I do. I learned a lot. I'm not saying that it's not valuable, but the majority of what I learned there was just that I need to keep reading and learning all the time. It was basically just the ethic of studying, learning, and practicing. It just that was the most important thing, was just getting that routine and making sure that I'm a continual lifelong learner. And that's one of the things that's going to benefit you the most, is just being dedicated to learning something new all the time. Um, as I said, I started freelance, like I started my career freelancing as an SEO blog writer. And it's a really fun career for somebody who likes to learn, because the marketplace changes all the time. There's always new platforms coming out. There's always new strategies for how to write. There's always new ways to look for keywords, new keyword tactics, new email automation tactics. And the one thing that remains consistent is that all of those require you to be able to write really well. And if you can do that, you can do any of these jobs. It's just learning a couple extra skills and then being able to write, and you can nail it. All right. This is a really big topic, and this is really big as in, well, it's big, but it's also really important. Your client relationships are the very most important thing, and it will take you the furthest out of any skill you have, even writing, I would say, because in order to keep clients in order to get clients and to keep clients, the most important factor is that they trust you, that they believe you can do what you say you can do, that they believe you can deliver what you say you're going to deliver on time, and that they feel comfortable talking to you about their business and things that they find potentially confidential, private, and also to trust you with their concerns and their problems. Because when they're hiring a freelancer, a lot of times it's because they have an issue that they're not sure how to solve. They don't have the skill set to solve. Sometimes they don't even know what their problem is, and they need you to help them figure that out. So if you can establish a trusting relationship with your client from the beginning, in terms of, open up to them, discuss some of the things you do, discuss some of the problems that you've helped clients with in the past, give them examples of things that you do. And if they tell you a problem, think back to other clients you've helped with similar problems. But the more you communicate with them, the more you're open and transparent with them, and the more you explain your process, it builds a rapport, like a sort of a connection with the clients, which is ultimately beneficial, not just because you're making money, which is ideal. You obviously want to make money, but also because it makes your entire job better. You form friendly relationships. They trust you. They're not going to micromanage everything you do. They just know you're going to do what you say you're going to do because they trust you. And the more those trusting relationships you have, they build upon each other. The people aren't going to go look for other people to do their writing or to do their email marketing. If they trust you, why would they? And along with that, you can charge higher rates when you have people that really trust you too, because they don't want to spend weeks and weeks filtering through freelance people to find somebody that they can trust. If you're a trustworthy person, even if you're more expensive, they're going to hire you and they're going to keep paying you, because time's money to everybody in business. They don't want to spend weeks looking for somebody else who's just okay. If you provide a quality service and you're a nice person and you're trustworthy, you're golden. That's what you need. That's that relationship. So in terms of this slide, seeing the scams early, that's really important. And it's one of the things that I had to focus on and figure out rather quickly. When I first started freelancing, one of my clients, wanted a report written, and I didn't really know about getting things in writing, and I didn't really know that there are people who would try to scam me out of stuff. And unfortunately, although they're a minority, there are a few out there. So it's really important to know what to look for. If people start asking you to provide a bunch of free samples, that's not a good sign. Nobody should ask you to do work for free. Like it's all good to provide sample work and to do test projects and whatnot, but yeah, they should be willing to pay for it. And most legitimate businesses are. Anytime somebody's asking you to work for free, especially in the beginning, it's not a really good sign. Luckily, if you're working through like the HOTH or FreeUp, they've got great teams that vet people for a large part. So that takes a lot of the concern on the financial end out because they have some really good systems in place. But if you're doing anything on your own outside of that, it can get a little more tricky, and you want to be really careful that you fully vet people and talk to them, look into their background and everything, just make sure it's legitimate. But it's inevitable. Every once in a while, you're going to get somebody who's scammy, and you just kind of have to look at it as part of the business and just let it roll off your shoulders. Don't let anything. Freelancing is really volatile in terms of sometimes you have work, sometimes you don't. You've got a budget and plan for those downtimes, and you can get clients who are stressful, just like any industry. Some of them aren't as nice as others. Some of them try to get free work, and you just have to be nice to all of them. What I try to do when I deal with all my clients is I just approach them with the idea in mind that nobody's out to do something to me intentionally negative. Everybody is just trying to be positive and nice, and I relate to it as that all the time, whether they are or not. My brain may tell me differently and be like, I think they're being kind of mean. I don't allow my brain to go in that direction. I'm like, nope, they probably meant that in a nice way, and I react accordingly. And you can't go wrong like that. If you just assume that everything they're saying is meant with the best intentions and super nice, you can't go wrong. You can never go wrong with being nice. Not that I'm aware of, just, yeah, just smile and just keep rolling with it. Being transparent, super important. Whenever you're talking to somebody about your process, don't assume that they understand what you're doing or why it takes so long. A lot of people don't. If they're hiring you to do something like writing a blog, a really high quality blog, it's because they can't do it themselves a lot of times, or they don't understand the process. And as such, if you say, yeah, this is going to take me 8 hours, they might be like, oh man, why would it take 8 hours to write that much? And they may not understand the research and the editing. And you may have to interview people. You may have to learn about a business. You might have to go through analytics to figure out even what you're going to write about. And it can take hours and hours and hours depending on the project. So be transparent and explain it to them. Don't assume that they know anything about it, because more than likely, if they're hiring you to do something, they don't understand the process. And the best thing you can do is explain it to them. You don't have to tell them how to do it themselves, but walk them through the process, give them an idea of what your process looks like, and then they'll go, oh, okay, that makes sense. I see why it takes so long. I wasn't thinking about the research and the interviews and processing the data and the editing and putting in the keywords and all of this stuff. So yeah, just be clear with them, talk to them, be transparent about your pricing, tell them why you charge what you charge. Don't be afraid to charge a premium for whatever your service is that you're providing. If they're looking for an expert in the field, they expect to pay an expert prices. If you say you're going to work for $1 an hour, they're going to assume you're not an expert. You're not doing them any favors. You should charge what you're worth, and don't be afraid to do that. Also, get everything in writing. Contracts. When I create a new project with somebody, I detail everything. I say, what I'm going to do, how many hours it's going to take, when it's going to be done, the date of the deliverables or the time. I tell them what time of day I should have it ready for them. And I always check and make sure that timeline's okay. I get them to confirm it all in writing, all the parameters of the contract. If I offer refunds or not, if I'm going to charge for consultation, which I do. And so all those things, if you put that up front ahead of time, it doesn't deter people. They like the transparency, especially business people. They want to know what it's going to cost ahead of time and why. So if you're transparent about that ahead of time, even if it's a high budget item or a high budget service, they're usually fine with it. And they're definitely much more fine with it as opposed to being surprised afterwards that something popped up, or last minute, oh, I can't deliver it on time. It's always better to add some extra time or to assume a few more hours than what you actually think it'll take. And then, like under promise, over deliver, that kind of cliche saying. But, if you think you can have it done tomorrow, give yourself an extra day and then get it to them early. That's a lot better than saying I can get it to you tomorrow and then something happens and you can't, because they make business decisions based on when you're going to deliver things. So it's incredibly important that everybody's transparent and you just stay on the same page with everything. So communication is key. Again, as I said, as a writer, you're already ahead of the majority of people out there because you're already skilled at communication. That's your talent, your gift. So you've already got the hardest skill set down, and it's just expanding it into the different areas. Continued learning, as I talked about earlier, to be really successful as a freelancer, you have to be dedicated to learning continually. And the reason for that is that marketing changes constantly, daily. The platforms change all the time. There's always new and better platforms, and even the existing platforms change constantly. The strategies you use for SEO change all the time. And so the best thing you can do is just dedicate yourself to learning. And so I just put some things on here. It's kind of what I do on a daily basis, not at a certain amount of time or a certain time every day or anything like that. They're not strict, rigid requirements, but they're things I try to do on a daily basis to keep myself, well versed in everything that's happening in marketing, and just to learn new subjects. So when people come along and say, "Hey, do you have experience in this field?" I can say, "Yeah, I do." I try to learn a new skill every day, whether that's learning about a new topic, learning a new platform. I always read an hour every day. I get up in the mornings, and the first thing I do generally is I get 3 different business and marketing newsletters in my email. Um, and so I get up and I read those. I learn about things that are happening in the news, things that are happening worldwide, things that are happening in business. This does a couple different things for me. One, it turns my brain on because I'm half asleep and I'm not ready to engage people or do much. So it gets my brain working right off the bat. I'm already starting to process things. The other thing it does is when you have client meetings and you want something to talk about, if you just spend an hour reading about things happening in the world and you don't know how to kick off a conversation, uh, now you have something because you've got weather, you've got news, you've got business news, you've got stock news, major events, political events, whatever. I'd stay away from political events right now, actually, but the other things are probably fine. Politics is a little touchy. But anyway, so you're getting information that, instead of hopping on a call and having some silence and be like, "How are we going to start this?" You can be like, "Hey, how's it going? I see you're in this area. You may know something that happened in the news there. You may know the weather in that area, or if nothing else, you know what's happening around you, so you can tell people about it, get a friendly conversation started, and then go from there and expand into actually talking about work." Because one of the best ways to engage a client is just to open the conversation, to talk about something familiar, something that they've heard about. You don't always have to start in and just start talking about business. Just joke around, talk about some news for a minute, and then you build like a rapport before you even get into the business. And it also kind of opens up your voice. It opens up your speaking. It gets your brain working, and you get a feel of the customer that you're talking to and kind of their personality. You get to kind of hear their voice. You get to hear what kind of mood they're in. You can gauge these things and then figure out how to present yourself in relation to that. If they're sounding kind of down and sluggish, maybe crack a joke. If you can tell that they're really short on time, they're talking fast, you might want to summarize what you're going to do and get to the point quicker. But all these things you can judge just by starting up a friendly conversation in the beginning. I'm an avid reader as well. I have books on sales, marketing, viral marketing, all sorts of things, along with sales psychology. I try to read a little bit every day. I don't always get to do it, but I try to read some every day. And as I said, learning new platforms and software tools, I try to learn a new one at least every month. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 a month. Um, and the good thing about that is even if you don't have a client that needs a specific tool, you eventually will. And a lot of them are similar to other ones. So sometimes when you learn a new software tool, someone will ask you and say, "Hey, for example, do you know how to use Klaviyo for email marketing?" You may not, but you may know how to use MailChimp. And you could say, "No, but I'm an expert with MailChimp. And I think it's probably similar enough that I can transfer it over." And the more software platforms the more clients you can have. It expands your skill set, which as I said earlier, those are your assets as a business. You don't have overhead. You don't have to have a building. You don't have to have power. You don't need to have, a cleaning crew and a huge staff. You just have to have a lot of information in your brain. And that's the least expensive, but the most valuable asset you'll ever have in this industry. And then also learn from your clients. As I mentioned earlier, most of your clients are going to be business people too, and this includes people like if you're working at the HOTH, working with FreeUp, there's a lot of experts in a lot of different fields there. So clients, coworkers, listen to what they're saying, ask questions. If they mention a platform or a topic you don't understand, look it up, write notes. Anytime I'm in a meeting with clients, I keep a blank Word document up, and any word they say that I don't know, whether it's a platform or an industry term or anything, I write it down and I look them all up right after the meeting. And over time, you get to where you know what everybody is talking about. And the industry jargon just builds and builds over time. And knowing industry jargon is important because if people talk about things, people use acronyms and words a lot in business for the sake of brevity, and conciseness to be able to communicate well. If you're not aware of those terms, it can get kind of confusing when you're speaking with people. So the more you expose yourself to different industry terms, the better it is. And then, of course, understand the difference between business to business and business to consumer marketing. That's really important. It's two different types of marketing strategies. And I won't go in depth in that, but it's just something to be aware of that you'll have clients, some that are looking primarily, and this is in writing too, primarily business to consumer or primarily business to business. And you have to be able to understand what those target audiences look like. The way you communicate with them is completely different. The type of material you present them with is different because their goals are different as clients. And then as I've gotten orange there, just ask questions all the time. You can't ask too many questions of a client. Clients like to talk about themselves anyway. They love to talk about their businesses. Entrepreneurs are notorious for loving to talk about their business. I do. I love talking about my business. Obviously, I'm doing it right now. So it's just a fantastic thing. Just ask questions about everything. You just can't ask too many. I know you've heard that since elementary school, but it's true. Okay, so the ultimate goal of this, for some of you, may be building your own brand. You may not realize this, but you're already doing it. Like, as I said earlier, as a writer, you're building your brand. Every time you write something, you're putting a little bit of yourself online and out there for people to see. That's part of you. That's like putting part of your soul out there for people. It's your mind, it's your personality, it's your words. That's you. And as you do that, you're building your brand. So keep in mind as you're working, that everything you do is a representation of yourself. All the writing you use, keep track of it, keep copies of it, keep links to where it's published. And a really important part of engaging new clients is to have these assets to provide to them. So one of the things that is really valuable for me is that I have a digital portfolio. When I started freelance writing, my portfolio was just full of writing samples. I had writing samples about the brick industry. I had writing samples of I'm trying to think some of the other ones in the very beginning. What I did, it was a bunch of random stuff, even like erectile dysfunction medication. I had articles written about that, crazy stuff. Yeah. But I just kept going on and building out the article portfolio. And then over time, as I started doing emails, I took screenshots of the emails I designed, the templates. As I did social media marketing, the posts, I took screenshots of the posts. When I started into pay-per-click advertising, when I created ads, I take screenshots of that. When I started doing landing page design for sales funnels, take pictures of all of those. You put all these in a portfolio. Then when somebody says, how do I know that you can do this? You just go, boom, check out this portfolio. They can look through all that stuff. You don't have to pull up all these files and send them to every client. You've got a portfolio available to them all the time. You can just send it right over. They can check it out. Another valuable asset is scripts. And I don't mean like you send the same thing to everybody because that's obnoxious. Nobody likes that. But you can have basic scripts set up, which have, like in a Word document, you can have a link to your digital portfolio, a link to a calendar app for scheduling. You can have your basic skill sets listed and platforms that you use in documents, depending on what you're applying for. And then like for me, for example, I work in a lot of different fields. I work as, sales funnel developer, web designer, social media marketer, pay-per-click person. I work on Amazon some. And so I have separate scripts made out for all these different subsets of what I do so that I don't have to go and sit and spend 45 minutes writing a detailed email for every new client. I can go in, I have the foundational element, and then I adapt it to what their business is. But some of the things stay the same, like my digital portfolio link, it's always the same. My resume, which I've had on here, put a professional resume, which you definitely want, or a CV, you can put that in your portfolio. That's not going to change. You have to update it some, but not every day. So anyway, it's super valuable. Automated scheduling I highly recommend you use something like Setmore or an automated scheduling app. So when somebody reads an introductory email, they can just click and schedule an appointment then. You don't want them to have to reach out to you again and again and go back and forth and say, when are you available? I don't know. Maybe I'll be available. Like, it's just too much work, takes too long, Just go ahead and give them a link so they can look at all the times you're available, schedule an appointment with you, offer them a free introductory consultation or however you want to go about it, and then give them the chance to get to know you, and that way they can work on their own time. It's not dependent on communication, because as a freelancer, your time's money too. You want to streamline all that as much as possible. And you want to be able to provide them the most professional and most detailed group of information about yourself, and make it as easily available and easy for them to process as possible. You want them to be able to just click a button, schedule an appointment with you. You get a message, you go in, you talk to them, and then you get started. It's super easy. And then once you get into moving more towards building a brand, if you decide to go that route, like start a business or whatever, you want to create a unique website. It's really important. Even as a writer, you can start one as a writer and just have, a single page website that just has like a picture of you, talks about your background, your history, what you do, the services you provide. And it adds another layer or level of professionalism that will set you apart from other freelancers. All these things are just little things that'll set you apart and make the difference between somebody saying, well, I'm not sure if they know what they're doing, or these people are incredibly professional. So yeah, it's good stuff. Okay, then the next thing you'd want to decide, if you're going to build a brand for yourself, is, are you working towards being a strategist or a specialist, which are two different things. So a specialist can be a variety of things. You're a specialist now. You're a writer. Some of you are copywriters, some are blog writers, variety of other things. That's a specialist. They're email specialists. They're social media specialists, sales funnel specialists. And all of those are high paying freelance jobs. They're great sectors to be in. Then you can go up another level if you are interested in it and become a strategist, which will be the coordination and the higher level of how these things work together. So if you're just an email strategist, it would be, how do these emails work together? How do these flows of emails and automations work with each other? And then how does that work within the system of the website and the paid advertising and the social media marketing and the content marketing? How do all these things work together like gears in a machine? All these things have to be turning together. So what you do as a strategist is you tell your client how I'm going to make that happen, and then you make it happen, or you help hire the people that are going to assist you in making it happen. And so it's important to evaluate your skill set often to determine how to label yourself, because you don't want to present yourself as a strategist if you don't understand the entirety of the process, because that's what they're going to be asking you. However, as a specialist, if you're an email specialist, they're not going to ask you exactly how that's necessarily going to interact with every other platform out there. They know that you're specializing in email, and that's a very valuable skill set as well, just like being a blog writer or being a copywriter. And so, as I said, here's an example of like a specialist professional copywriting services. You show people, why they need it. You explain to them the difference between quality writing and not quality writing. Some people don't understand the difference, especially if they're not really heavy readers, if they're not people that write a lot or people that are engaged in professional writing. They may not know the value of it. And you have to explain to them the value for not only like SEO purposes in terms of the spiders crawling and seeing the value of the content and the grammatical correctness and everything. There's also value just for the customer itself, being written in the correct tone and voice for the audience, something that's going to engage the customer, keep them engaged, keep them coming back for more content that's valuable to them, like DIY articles on how to use products or whatever it may be. And that way you can explain to them why they should pay a premium for your writing. It's the customer engagement and the customer retention and the customer remarketing. Nobody wants to pay to get a customer to look at their ad and then disappear. But if you can pull them into a sales funnel, you can capture their information and then engage them with blogs and with social media content, and then ask them to share it. It's free advertising and free marketing. And it creates an ever evolving digital marketing ecosystem for the clients, which is great because it lowers their advertising expenses and it raises their return on investment. It raises their revenue, which works great for everybody, because that means then they have money to pay you more, which is fantastic. Yeah, and then like premium consulting services. That could be a strategy position or a specialty position, depending on what you're offering. It can kind of go both ways. Consulting, you can be, in terms of me being a digital marketing strategist, I consult in a lot of different areas in terms of business growth consulting. I work with startups and talk about startup business consultation, how to set up their pricing, how to set up their website, all these things. But I also work with existing businesses in terms of like growth hacking and trying to scale their business and how they can market more efficiently and sustainably in terms of, you know, optimizing their marketing so they're not spending as much and it's reaching the correct target audience, and they're not spending advertising on people that aren't going to engage their product. And you know, and that's something super valuable. One of the most important things in marketing is helping your client understand who their audience is, where they are online, and basically understanding who that person is in terms of their personality and their, you know, what they believe in and what is going to be a pain point for them. What problem can you fix for them? When you understand that, you know where they are, what they need, and the person they need to hear or to be engaged with in order to convert and to opt into your services, then you're golden. You can market for anybody. It's all about figuring out who you need to be and how you need to present yourself for that client so that they know you can engage their customers for them. All right. And then the one of the latter steps that some of you may decide to go into is founding a marketing agency. I founded a consultancy, which is a partnership between me and my fiance, who's also a marketing strategist, and our daughter, who is now a social media marketing person and a copywriter. She's been working with us as an intern for the past year. And so we built a consultancy. I'm also working on another digital marketing agency called Synchronic, which is in the cannabis industry, legal cannabis, all legal, all good stuff. And so I'm working on expanding that as well. That's a brand new thing I'm just launching now. But to found an agency, you've got to delve a little more into the management skills, but a lot of it still is just communication. It's communicating, finding the right people, being willing to share your knowledge with those people so that they can help you support a broader range of clients in terms of both business sectors and markets, but also sizes of clients. Because when you start working with really large corporations, you're not going to be able to provide everything yourself. It just becomes so expansive. You create a marketing system for a big corporation, and they may want a new blog every week and 20 social media posts a day and a new email every 2 days. And there's no way as one person you're going to be able to do all that. But you can build a team and teach them how you do what you do, and then expand and be able to work for larger and larger clients over time. Some of the most important things in getting that marketing agency going are networking. Anytime you're in a meeting like this, or you meet somebody new, or you get a new client, go on LinkedIn and look them up, add them. You know, LinkedIn, it doesn't mean you have to be best friends with them. It's not, you know, it's not like social media, like they're going to hit you up all the time and ask what you're doing, but it builds this connection between all these different professionals. And you never know when your services are going to overlap their needs. And it happens a lot. So, you know, people that you see in here, people that present today, hit them up on LinkedIn, you know, make a connection with them, start building that network now, because the bigger it is, once you start progressing in your career, the more opportunities you're going to have. Everybody's valuable. Every connection you have is valuable. I would not reject anyone from being a business connection. As I said, they don't have to be your bestie. You know, they're people that can provide you information, and you never know, you may have a question. And if your network is huge, you may have a question in marketing, be like, I don't understand this, I need help. One of those people is going to know the answer. And the more people you have, the quicker that answer is going to come. Building a team, I already kind of discussed that. You know, just build a team of people you trust, be transparent, communicate with them the way you would want them to communicate with you. Obviously, you want them to discuss problems, issues, concerns. Do the same thing with them. Let them know what's going on. You know, share emails, make your email account a shared thing. So when you communicate internally with your team members, let everybody see what's going on. There's no reason you got to be secretive. You know, if you're running a good, legitimate, ethical, sustainable business, you shouldn't have to hide things from people. There's no reason, you know. And then choosing an industry, you know, one of the best ways to get started, I always recommend expanding into as many industries as you can. But when you get to the area of being a marketing agency, it's really good to choose a niche industry, figure out something, and to make it fun, figure out something you enjoy. If you can find one that you enjoy and you're really interested in the topic, and that's also a growing industry, that's ideal, because then you're never going to feel like you're working. You're doing something you enjoy all the time. You'll be talking about things you enjoy. It's just the best way to do things. And then the very most important things I put in big glowing bluish teal letters: save money. And there's multiple reasons for this. One, when you start building an agency, there are going to be some expenses as a kind of alternate to being a freelancer. If you decide to start building a marketing agency, you'll have expenses like, a website design. If you don't do it yourself, there's going to be content that you want created that you may not have time to create yourself. You're going to have some employees that you're going to need to pay. So you're going to have some money built up for that. And the more money you have saved ahead of time, the less you have to try to get as a loan or something. And it's still a really low overhead for a marketing agency, especially if it's fully remote. But the best thing you can do is save money and save and invest. And then the other thing that's fantastic about it is, as you learn about these industries, I don't know if you guys invest in stocks or anything, but the more you work in these industries, the more you're going to know about them and the more knowledge you're going to have to invest your money in these industries too. So instead of, the cliche, getting that coffee every day or going out to eat once a week or whatever, tuck that money away and save it. And you'll be amazed at how fast that grows. And then when something comes along, you decide to do something like this, instead of having to take out a big loan, you've already got the money. So you start at even, instead of, like, a lot of businesses, when they start out, they go in the negatives by hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars. You can do this without going in the negative at all. Zero. You start off in the positive, which is just mind blowing for most businesses. It's the perfect industry to be in. Then building your brand, and I know I'm getting a little short on time, so I probably need to talk faster. Like, I don't talk fast enough already, but so basically building your brand. So figure out what your offering is, create a high quality website that describes in detail the services that you provide as a specialist, strategist, or agency. Explain why your team's amazing. Collect testimonials. Testimonials are super valuable in every industry to show your legitimacy, to show that people like you, that you do what you can provide. People want to hear it from somebody else. Obviously, you should say you're the most amazing person on the planet. If you don't think that, why should anybody else think it? But they want to hear it from somebody else too. So it's super valuable to have testimonials. Put those on social media, use them in advertisements. Figure out what makes you unique. Have a distinct logo, unique branding. If you're doing content ahead of time, if you're doing social media posts, put your, if you don't have a logo, put your initials on it, watermark it with your initials. Give something that conveys who you are, so people remember. If they see a really cool post, they know that's you. They know that's Susan or Naomi or Sherry. I'm just saw your names right now. So and then use a style guide consistently. Like, if you've got a website, use the same, and this is for clients too, use the same fonts, use the same colors, use the same tone and voice. And be able to tell them why they should hire you. You can create case studies for previous clients you worked with. So you can show proof. Be like, I provided content for this client. They gained 100,000 followers, or their revenue went up by this much, or I did social media marketing. I did email marketing. They got 1,000 more subscribers that are still subscribed, a month later. All these things are super valuable, and they're proof of your expert level services. And I'm gonna wrap this up real quick so y'all have time for some questions. But basically, remember to go back to your roots. Whatever direction you go in, that writing is going to be the most valuable skill you have. And share it with people, like I'm doing now. When I talk to new clients, I explain to them how I got started. People love stories. They want to hear your story. They want to hear how you got started. I didn't start out as a digital marketing strategist 20 years ago. I started out as a cook in a restaurant who was doing blog writing in my spare time to help pay my rent, on my little 1-bedroom apartment. Like, I haven't been doing this forever. I've been writing forever, but it evolved into this over time. And it can happen way faster for you guys, because back when I was doing it, it was kind of unheard of. People just didn't really do it. Now you've got the resources. Like, there's all the information out there. You can build that career as rapidly as you want. It just takes dedication and putting the time into it, really. So create your own brand story, be able to tell people how you got to where you are. And I wanted to include this because this is something a lot of you have heard, but maybe not. And I've said this before. If you want to be a writer, it's a Stephen King quote, one of my favorite writers. Along with Edgar Allan Poe. I have a whole tattoo sleeve of Edgar Allan Poe. So if you want to be a writer, you must do 2 things above all others: read a lot and write a lot. It sounds really simple. It is really simple. You just have to read all the time. Like, it doesn't matter what you read. Just read all the time. You're training your brain to be a better writer without even consciously doing it. It doesn't matter what you read. Just read and read and read and read. And so that's pretty much it. Again, I'm Sylvan Kills. I'm going to open it to some questions now. I don't know if a moderator's going to come in and help out how we'll do that, but yeah, so that's pretty much it. Let me close this thing. All right.
All right. Well, thank you for that presentation, Sylvan. That was great. We have seen some questions flowing through the chat here for you. So if you're ready for them, I'm going to shoot them over to you.
Yeah,
So
sounds good.
one of the first ones, and I'm actually curious to hear your answer to this too. What are some of your favorite marketing newsletters that you read?
Okay, so my favorite one is The Brew.
Okay.
And they have two different newsletters. One is the Morning Brew, which is one of the ones I read every morning. It's not specifically marketing, but it's business news, world news, and things like that. But then they also have an offshoot newsletter that is the Marketing Brew, and it's specifically on marketing. It's got a lot of really good information. I'm trying to remember if there's some other. I read like the Wall Street Journal, which sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it leans over to marketing a little. It's more business, but um, really, a lot of business and world news kind of overlaps with marketing. The knowledge of that really helps with your marketing because it helps you know big events in business, whether it's international or not. And you can a lot of
Right.
times use that in your marketing just to learn more about what's happening in business every day. So yeah,
Well,
The Brew, check that one out. That's awesome. And it's really well written. It's funny too. So it's not a boring read.
well, good. I've heard of that one, but I've never checked it out myself. So I'm actually going to check that out today. I did find
And of
one.
course,
Oh, go
I was gonna
ahead.
say, then of course you got the HOTHCON and the Free Up newsletters too. Y'all been doing a good job of those. So those are
Yeah.
fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. Did see one question about replays. I'll address now. Yes, we will have replays of all of these sessions today. We'll get those up on YouTube and probably within a week or two here, but we'll shoot out an email so everyone can look at those. All right, one more question for you. Do your clients react well when you say you are going to collaborate with a colleague because they have a special knowledge in a particular area? For example, you're adding value to your offer. And that is from Allison Wright.
Hey, that's a good question, Allison. So yes, it depends on how you present it though. So there's a couple different situations that I encountered. One, when I work in a freelance capacity, which is a lot of what I do, um, most of the people that hire me want to know that I'm actually providing all the work for them. So they want to know that I'm not saying that I'm going to do copywriting or that I'm going to do marketing strategy and then outsource it to someone else. Like they build a relationship with me, but they do like it when I collaborate with, for example, my partner, who's also a marketing strategist. When I tell them, hey, I created a marketing strategy blueprint for you. Before I delivered it to you, I got my partner to check this out too. I got them to review it. I got their input. They gave me some advice on what they agreed with. If they had any concerns about anything, we brainstormed on it. And so what you're getting is the compilation of the brainstorming of what I came up for your marketing strategy and then somebody else's ideas too. And then it just adds extra value. So again, it comes down to being transparent. You should tell them who the person is, why you're collaborating with them, explain that you're not
Yep.
charging them more because you're collaborating with somebody, but you just want to get the most valuable set of information and opinions on how they should move forward. Um, I think that teamwork and collaboration is ultimately valuable for every type of service you provide. And having more people's opinions never is going to cause a detrimental thing. I mean, you may get advice from people you don't agree with,
Mm-hmm.
but in reality, all the information you get is it just helps you see other people's perspectives. When I create marketing, some things I present people may like. There may be things that other people don't, and the more people that I review that with, the better idea I have of how it's going to go over for the entire audience I'm presenting it to. So yeah, ultimately, it's a great idea.
Well, awesome. Thank you. We got a couple more. Again, if you have any other questions, go ahead and put them in the chat right now. We got about 10 minutes left of our Q&A here, and then we're going to have a little break. One more question that I can probably field here. This is from Haley. Can I build my own website or sign up for free up while working for the HOTH? I don't want to risk my current job because I love it so much, but expansion is always good too. You can definitely do that. We have a lot of freelancers that are working in free up and the HOTH. We encourage it. We love it. More opportunity for you guys to grow again professionally and financially. So if you want to go sign up on either or both of those platforms, go ahead and go for it. All right, I did see one more in here for you from Haley. Hi, Sylvan. You talked about learning platforms/tools each month. What are some of the biggest ones that clients expect you to know how to use? Do you have any recommendations for DIY learning on the new platforms?
Okay, yeah. So it really depends on your client's needs, but so some of the ones that people ask me about the most are like Klaviyo for email marketing, MailChimp for email marketing, the social media platforms like Facebook Business Manager, which is advertising for, it's a PPC advertising platform for Facebook and Instagram. Um, let's see, like, Pinterest advertising, YouTube advertising, and then knowing things like Shopify, being familiar with Shopify, being familiar with WordPress, BigCommerce. WordPress is primary for blogs. Shopify is primarily e-commerce. BigCommerce is kind of more the service industry. And then all of these different platforms, and there's a lot of other little collateral plugins and things you can learn too, but almost all of them have learning courses built into them. So if you go to the website, most of them have learning courses you can take for free. They have video courses. If they don't, YouTube has videos on every one of those platforms, guaranteed. If the platform exists, there's a YouTube video on how to use it. And that's what I do for a lot of the platforms. When I don't know a platform, I'll first go to the website. I see if they have online learning courses. Most of them have free learning courses because they want you to learn it, because once you learn it, you can use it and you can, sell it to clients basically. So it's like a win-win-win for everybody when you do that. But YouTube videos are fantastic too. There's almost always a couple dozen videos on every one of those platforms. So if you don't like somebody who's presenting one of them, just go to another one. If somebody is talking too slow, switch it. If they're too fast, switch it. So yeah, the information's out there. You just do a Google search, you can find e-learning courses on all of it, and almost all of it's free. So the only thing that you're using, there's no expense. It's just your time, and it's well invested time.
Yeah, and I love what you were saying kind of in the first part of your presentation on how if you don't know a particular software, you probably know another type of software that's pretty similar. For example, we use MailChimp for some of our email sending, but we just transitioned over to one called ActiveCampaign about a month ago. And I had never used it before, but if you knew how to work MailChimp, it's pretty much the same inside ActiveCampaign. So I don't think you have to become an expert at everything, but if you learn one email program, one e-commerce, one content creation or content publishing site, you can really kind of have it all, I think. All right, one last question here. It looks like, Sylvan, sorry if you covered this or not, but pricing models, does it become easier to operate on a 100% upfront model rather than a 50-50? How do you overcome objections to this?
Okay, well, one of the best ways to overcome objections is what I was talking about with providing them with as much information and samples of your previous work so that they have that trust in what you're providing. A lot of the times the objections there's two main objections. One is your price, and one is, can you actually do what you're saying you're doing? The price isn't a big deal if you prove the other one. So if you can provide samples that you've done the work before, show them quality graphic design, if that's what you do, show them quality copywriting samples in their industry, then that overcomes a lot of the objections. Then when it comes to the way you bill, I really kind of do it depending on the feel I get from the client. But normally I do like a 50-50 because I feel like that's fair. If they pay 50-50, now I do always say like there's no 100% refunds on what I provide. Because when you spend the time creating and writing an entire document, you put the time in already. I do offer revisions. I say, if we need to make some changes to it, we need to adapt it, change it some, offer revisions on it. But I don't offer complete refunds. But I usually do a 50-50 model just because it kind of helps establish that trust factor too. They're showing that they're going to pay, and you're showing that you're going to do the work because you want the rest of the money, obviously. So it just gives kind of like a good feel. When you ask for 100% up front, it just kind of, I don't know, it feels like you're saying you don't trust them in my opinion, which is not a good way to start a business relationship. You want to both trust each other. So that 50-50 lets you both give a little and give a little, and it just works out better. And it's that first step in establishing trust, because ultimately you don't want the client to be a one-time client. You want them to keep coming back. And the biggest factor there is that trust. So, if in the off chance that they don't pay the other 50%, which could potentially happen, although it's rare, it's worth it for the ones that you keep because of that trust being built, because they're gonna more than make up for the 50% you might lose once or twice a year. It's
Right.
so incredibly rare for that to happen. Yeah.
Well, awesome. We got one last question popped in here. This one's from Luke. When taking on new clients, should you focus on a certain niche or just kind of accept all of them?
So I don't focus on a specific niche in terms of the industry they work in. Partially because I've got a lot of experience in a lot of industries, but also as a writer, most of you guys are probably already really gifted researchers as well. It's kind of inherent to that job. So in terms of the industries, I can learn about in any industry, and my writing skills will translate over in any industry. So I don't pick jobs based on the industry they're in. I pick jobs based on what needs to be provided and the level of work that needs to be provided. So I make sure that I feel like I can deliver the format or the tangible thing that they need more than I do what the subject matter is. So if I know that I can provide the research on a topic, I can write it well, and that I understand enough of the industry to do the project, then I don't worry too much about it. And one of the things I start every project with is a discovery period. I don't start working with any client until I spend, however many hours I feel is necessary to understand their business, to determine their target audience, to know who I'm writing for, to know who I'm marketing to, and to understand the product or service that I'm marketing. So I start working with clients with that being a requirement to say, I can't provide the optimal service for you until I fully understand what your business does, who your audience is, and what the benefits are of your product and service, and what the audience's pain points are that we're going to be fixing. And then once you do that discovery period and research, you can work for anybody, because then you're an expert on their industry.
Well, awesome. I think that does it, and right on time too. Well, thank you very much, Sylvan. Have a great
Thank you so much.
have a great rest of your Tuesday.